Hello, I am Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, and I'm coming to you today from the Oklahoma State Capitol. And we're really exciting about launching a look at Oklahoma's career tech system, really trying to connect the dots for parents, for teachers, for the 4 million people that live inside the state of Oklahoma, really telling the story about how world-class of a career tech system we have here in Oklahoma. And yes, helping close a skills gap that we have in America. I believe Oklahoma can truly lead the way and be the state, kind of the shining star, and an example of how one state is closing the skills gap in a state. And in Oklahoma, it's going to be done by our Oklahoma Career Tech system. So we are launching a series where I am interviewing great Oklahomans, great kids that have gone through our Oklahoma Career Tech system or are currently in the Oklahoma Career Tech system to demonstrate that this is a true asset for us inside the state of Oklahoma. And so for today, I am lucky enough to have with us Levi Miller. Levi, thank you for being with us. He is a recent graduate of the Robotics and Electronic Automation program at Autry Technology Center in Enid, America. Levi, thanks for being here today, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into this. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am from Enid, Oklahoma. I'm 21 years old, and I graduated from Autry Technology Center in 2019. So I went there for 2 years in high school. On the Autry Technology Scholarship. So they paid for everything through my high school years. And I went 2 years after as well, which was as an adult. And then on my second year, I ended up graduating, and I've been working at Coke ever since then.
Yeah, that's great. So what brought you to Autry Tech? So tell us a little bit about, clearly in high school, you were made aware of Autry Tech and what is career tech. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to Autry Tech in the first place.
Yeah, so Autry, when I was in 8th grade, Autry was coming and they were letting us have tours. So they have tours here at Autry every year for 8th graders, and then they have them for sophomores as well. So I remember coming here as an 8th grader, and seeing all the electronics and stuff and being really interested in it. And I just loved it. So I was interested from about then. And I also had 2 older brothers that came to Autry. So it's been around, ever since I was young. So, and just an awesome place.
That's really interesting to hear. So in 8th grade, there was already a relationship between the career tech in Enid and 8th graders. That is something that I just major kudos to our career tech system that starts early. How did you decide to enroll in the Robotics and Electronic Automation program? That's kind of a mouthful. How did you, decide to enroll in that?
So my older brothers have always been, so I have an older brother who's an electrician, and I have another one who is in instrumentation. And whenever I came to Autry, the electronics class just was awesome. I got to meet the instructor. I met Mr. Rogo in there, and just talking to him, he's a very smart man. So I learned a lot just coming and talking to him on the tours. So it was just getting to come in here and, see everything is what is the most, interesting.
How long did that program take for you to complete?
So there's a high school version and then there's an adult version. And if you come as a junior, you can, if you work hard, you can start on the adult program kind of your senior year, but mostly it's about 1.5 years to complete the high school. But then, so about 4 years total if you come during high school and as an adult. So 2 years as an adult.
So when you started it in high school, was it a half day at Enid High School and then you took another half day at Autry? How did that work?
Yes, sir. So I went to Enid High for the first 4 hours of the day, and then I came to Autry after lunch. And then that was as a junior. And then as a senior, I came to Autry.
Yeah. And what skills did you learn again in that junior and senior year when you were in high school? And again, I think it's a key point too. You still had a high school an experience. I mean, I'm sure you probably talk to kids all the time. Yes, you were at Autry half the day, but I mean, you still had an amazing high school experience while you were preparing for your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got to see pretty much all of my friends in the morning when I was going to Enid High. And then when I came here, I mean, I got to do all kinds of stuff. So I learned a lot about electricity in the first, like as a junior, in the first year. I mean, you learn a lot about AC, DC, current, voltage, all that stuff. And so, I mean, it was just kind of the basics. They get you, interested in just all the basic stuff. They don't, I mean, the first thing we start out with is, how does a battery work? I mean, it's real simple, and they just, move forward. And Mr. Rogo was always great about that. I mean, if you didn't know something, I mean, he would go back and teach you. He made sure that you knew what you were doing. And it started out very simple, nothing too hard at all.
Okay, so that was your junior year, and then you kind of got more specialized into your senior year. Probably got pretty serious at that point because you're graduating from high school. If you're going to choose not to go to college, you can go immediately into a career, correct?
Yes, sir. So whenever as a senior, it was more of pneumatics, hydraulics, just more of industry, stuff. It wasn't, you kind of get away from the more fun things like the, drones and stuff like that. You get more towards, industry, all the hydraulics, pneumatics and stuff like that. Process, flow, level. They just teach you the theory behind everything. Yeah. And you learn a lot about troubleshooting your senior year. That's when they start getting into, problem solving, because that's all anything really is just figuring out what the problem is and then solving it.
I know you said after you went to high school, you had another year or two. Tell us about that journey post graduating from high school.
Okay, so yeah, after I graduated high school, I came back to Autry. I did have a certificate, but it wasn't the adult certificate. It was, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a different certificate for an adult and the high school. But yeah, I came back to Autry for a year. And then after that first year, you learn a lot in the adult program. That's when, they start getting you into all the serious, industry stuff. And after that first year, Mr. Rogo got with all the surrounding companies in town, and he was able to get, them to come in, and they were all talking to us, telling us why we should come work for them. And Coke Industries here in Enid was one of the people that came in, and they were speaking. And I thought that was really cool. So I went and I applied for that internship. I ended up getting that. And then I was out at Coke for 3 months as an intern. And then I was still going to, after I got done with the internship, I still came back to Autry just to finish my certificate. So I was coming on like Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. Okay. But Tuesday and Thursdays were nights, and then Fridays were days. So I ended up finishing my certificate while working at Coke. But then, after the 3 months, I got hired on as a full-time employee. And I've been an instrumentation tech out there for almost 2 years now.
It's amazing to hear. I think it's probably pretty foreign for parents that might be watching this right now, or kids, that you had companies coming to you and courting you and saying, this is why I want you to come work for me. It rarely happens that way. But I hear those stories all the time from CareerTech students because they're so sought after, because you actually have a real skill. You have companies coming to CareerTech centers before you even had graduated with that certificate, asking you to come work at their different facilities. I think that's a pretty amazing story. So again, how long have you been with Coke now?
I'm getting close to 2 years.
Okay. And what are your long-term career goals at this point?
So I'm wanting to get into the reliability and maybe even the leadership. So I was in APR here at Autry, and that's the kind of the leadership of the school. And I really enjoyed that the 2 years I was here. So I've been looking to get into some type of leadership role out at Coke. I love the company. They've been really good to me. So I definitely would like to stick with them for ever, really.
Yeah.
However long.
Is it safe to say you've got some buddies that you may have graduated with that might be pretty jealous about the quality of life that you have versus maybe a few of them at 21, earning a living, at again, a very reputable company. Do you have some buddies that say, my gosh, I wish I would have been with you when you were going over to Autry as a junior or senior in high school? You get any of that?
Oh yeah, a lot of that. So I have a lot of friends who are going to OSU right now, and they'll send me messages asking me, "Man, how did you get on out there? What do I need to do to get on out there?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I went to Autry, and it definitely that was the biggest part of it right there was going to Autry." And they never did that. They all decided to go to college instead.
Yep.
So
Yep. We need kids going to college. Don't get me wrong, but we need to be talking about career tech as much as we talk about college. That's really the point that I try to make. We need kids going to OSU, but we need just as many kids choosing what you just said. Well, I went to Autry, and that made all the difference in the world for me. What did you enjoy the most about your time at Autry Tech?
it was definitely my instructor, and just the staff in general. They were all great. They want to see you succeed, and they're going to make sure you do everything they can. Especially Mr. Rogo. He was always really good to me. He's always making sure that everybody knows what they're doing. So Mr. Rogo has always been great. That was definitely my favorite thing about Autry, was having him as just a mentor. A lot of mentors here at Autry. They've been really good to me.
Well,
they're going to make sure you succeed no matter what.
That's great to hear. So closing this up here, Levi, what would you say to someone who is considering enrolling in career tech?
I would say it's definitely worth doing, because I mean, especially if you don't want to spend a lot of money. If you go to high school, a lot of the high schools, I know there's the Autry scholarship here, and they'll give you 2 years. They'll pay for everything your junior and senior year, and they'll give you, I think, 2 or 3. I think it's 3 years after you graduate, and you'll get everything. I think everything paid for, and it's great. Definitely, if you want to get into the workforce without any debt at all, or not very much, it's definitely the perfect thing to do.
Yeah. Well, Levi, thank you so much for sharing your story. We're again in our new series, a look at Oklahoma Career Tech. You're the future of our state, and I truly believe that we can close the skills gap. We can create jobs in the state of Oklahoma and keep companies very happy by sending a whole lot more kids to our Oklahoma Career Tech systems.